Thanks everyone for joining us on our panel about the future of live video. We'll look at the evolution of this and then also talk about best practices and what works and what doesn't, and where the future is headed with live video. So Darian, why is live video so important for a site like BuzzFeed News?
When you think about BuzzFeed and kind of the way that we interact with our audience, and also kind of like where our audience is finding us, it's always on social platforms. But I also think that something that is specific to BuzzFeed is just kind of like the way that we have like decided to interact with a very young audience that we have, and particularly like where they're getting their news. The inauguration and the Women's March for us were two huge events that we realized that people really wanted to know what was happening all of the time after the inauguration, a lot that had to do with protesting in DC, and then also minute by minute at the Women's March. And those were really two things that we were able to cover through Facebook Live. I think that on those days, cable news wasn't 100% showing people everything that they really wanted to see, which was about the march and about the protests that were going on after the inauguration. At BuzzFeed, we were kind of able to do that through live streaming, and I think for us that was such a huge indicator of what we could really bring through that platform, whether it is at a town hall where people are starting to more increasingly show up to, whether it's at a protest. I think that was a marker for us that we were certainly doing lots of live video before then, but I think that it was such a teaching moment that we just decided to run with.
Another thing that's also really taking off is interactive live video. Deb, you've done some really, really exciting things with interactive live video. I would actually like to show a little clip that Deb has put together about something that she's recently done on Facebook Live.
On one of the windiest days of the year in New York City, I followed a trail of Kodachrome slides to a trash bag filled with them. I thought maybe there'd be an interesting story, so I recorded myself picking them up and sent a clip to my editor. She was intrigued, so we went live on Facebook. That's me.
Hi, I'm Deborah Acosta, journalist with the New York Times. I found something kind of crazy walking down the street. They're actually really, really beautiful photographs. Let me show you guys.
The comments started streaming in immediately.
So, this was just lying on the ground here.
People projected all sorts of meaning into the slides.
And 11th Avenue. And I followed it to this trash can, this random city.
And some people thought they were meaningless.
And I found this bag on the ground filled with beautiful Kodachrome slides. And I just can't imagine why someone would throw all this stuff away.
I always rescue things like this. It's like a life lost, and it always makes me sad.
Someone will undoubtedly throw my slides away when I die.
Nothing more tragic than family photos tossed into the trash.
And then a clue.
This says Mariana Gosnell.
And we did a whole video piece about it. We took these live pieces and edited them together into a produced package that I think a lot of people were moved by, and it was really exciting. It was like this aha moment for us at the New York Times. We were like, this is the first time that we were able to engage directly with the audience while the reporter is doing their reporting. And that, I think, is a very fresh new thing. It's something that the audience reacts to really positively. They really enjoy engaging in the journalism as it's happening. They enjoy helping the journalists solve mysteries or solve their reporting problems. And it really creates a lot of transparency into the process. Right now, in the era of fake news, this kind of transparency is really important for us as a journalistic institution. And through live interactive video, we're breaking down that wall little by little.
Other fields of the New York Times, other areas that you're reporting about that also would profit from interactive broadcasting?
Obviously, breaking news is number one. When news breaks, people want to know exactly what's happening as quickly as possible, and they like the ability to ask questions to our editors, to our reporters, to our sources in the field. So breaking news is definitely one of them. Another one I think that we can still crack, and we haven't quite cracked yet, is investigative news. When you're trying to investigate something, why not open up your investigation to the world? You know, when hundreds of thousands or millions of people are watching you and your process of investigating an issue, maybe somebody will have an incredible tip for you. I think more and more you're seeing a lot of journalistic institutions collaborating with each other on these investigative stories, and to open it up to the entire world.
Brings me to Kai, who is in charge of VR and 360 at ARTE, a German-French public TV station in Europe. And I would like to know, what is your mission with 360, and especially 360 live video? I know you've done some great work with the opening of the ARTE Philharmonie, which a lot of people would have wanted to join, and you basically made that experience possible. Should we start with the video?
This is a little the trailer for ARTE 360 VR, all our activities at ARTE in terms of 360-degree video, virtual reality. You see at the end of the clip the polar light, and that was the initial project we did now 3 years ago. Did the project Polar Sea 360 and the world first documentary also in virtual reality, which was a short documentary about the Polar Sea and what's happening there based on climate change. And that brought us actually to the idea to set up the whole vertical for VR production, authoring, analytics, and all that, and publication, of course, on different kind of platforms, which is social media. Right now, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo. It's our own web player, 360 web player. It's the different apps, iOS, Android, Gear VR, Daydream, I think. And then also real life VR, which are more happenings and things happening in real life, and bringing VR to people who don't have the goggle and who can check it out.
What destinations are interesting for your audience? Where other than on TV do they see your content?
Well, we are really multi-platform. Of course web, of course HBB-TV, of course all these different TV boxes in France, of course YouTube, Facebook, I mean, just to mention a few. And then, of course, all the apps, iOS, Android, Windows. Distribution is 360, so it's in every kind of direction on a lot of devices. Of course, not on all of them, but on a lot of devices. And the same approach happens with VR, that we are trying there also to be on different devices available, and so to reach and create an audience within different kind of ecosystems.
What tools and techniques do you use to measure if your audience connects with the content you're producing live? And then how do you measure that? What are your metrics?
We are actually not looking at view counts to measure success with our live interactive videos, because it can be misleading. Really, the most important metrics are how many people are commenting on this content, how many people are sharing this content, and how many people are liking this content. And we look at all three of those metrics together to determine how engaging the content was. And that's how we measure success with our live video.
Take the point about, it's about interactions, but there's this social video dilemma. You can get big interactions with live video, but you don't get the same kind of viewership. It's the other way around with the short-form videos. And we're kind of wrestling with that one as an organization. How much to put into live against the short form? Like
more from the technical side, if you could wish for features to come out, either on the platforms you're using or for like a new tool that hasn't come out, but that would be really useful to what you're doing.
There's a couple of things I'd like to see. The first one is live captioning. I mean, if I can get it on my evening television news, I don't see why I can't have it on Facebook Live. That's the first thing. The second thing is that most of the views of live video actually are replays after the event has long since finished. But there's no, you can't edit it. So if it's a bit raggedy at the start, if there's problems with the first minute or so, there's a countdown or something, you can't edit that out. And you can't create a little package to put in place of the live. So I think that would make a big difference. It would allow a much bigger audience to get a much better experience for the original content.
I would want to be able to save live video, which you can now do on Facebook, but I also would like to be able to see the comments as they come through like as you can kind of do on Instagram. The coolest thing about going live to me is the fact that you can interact with your audience. I just kind of want to be able to do that, but also to save the video if I wanted to use it throughout a piece.
I would love to hear from all of you what you've seen at South by that you think is interesting, is going to change video basically in the future.
I think it was less what I saw, but it was more in conversations and discussions with people here is something, let's say, blended reality, something blending media, bringing things, like you said, with comments together with the video, to be more interactive, to create experiences out of live, out of 360 VR, all that different kind of media, to blend it into one. I think that's quite interesting.
I think the future of video is live, it's interactive, and it's authentic. That's what I've come away with.
The sessions that have worked best for me have been those that have addressed the issue of what's the audience you're trying to reach. It's very, very easy to get into the trap of being a broadcaster using social media. And it seems to me that that's a mistake, and you should be targeting different groups with different kinds of contents.
I mean, definitely overwhelmingly like VR, virtual reality, but I think I'm mainly just excited to exchange ideas with people, meet people who are just working on really interested things that I'm looking to know more about.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. This was really interesting, and it's a pleasure meeting all of you.